Welcome to Pin and Reel, where we discuss comic books, movies, books, and more. I'm your host, Uncle Joel. Let's get into it. The Swamp Thing by Ram V. I was a big fan of what Ram V did with Swamp Thing in Future State. You can check out the video here. So I was very much looking forward to this book. And when I heard that he was going to be introducing a new character as Swamp Thing, I was a little bit skeptical, but his Future State book won me over. So I figured I'd give it a chance. And I have to say, after reading this first issue, I still don't know what I think. Now, this issue is very character-driven, and it's very much a slow burn book. In fact, the way that it ended felt very abrupt to me. Like Ram V just kind of ran out of pages. Based solely off of this first issue, it feels like a story that's probably going to read better in collected form. And whereas the Future State story was really focused on telling an epic tale, this feels much more like a horror-based Swamp Thing story. So it's going back to Swamp Thing's horror-based roots, only it's telling it in a much different setting. Gone is the swamp and bayou of stories past. Instead, now we have India, New York, and the desert. So pretty much every aspect of this so far feels very foreign and very different from everything that's come before. And I think that's very much in an attempt to make things feel new and fresh. The primary antagonist of this issue appears to be a new character as well, so every aspect of this feels strange and different. And the main character's transformation into the Swamp Thing seems to be intermittent, like he goes back and forth between being human and Swamp Thing, and he's not entirely certain what's going on, and he's not in control of it, and so it's very different from Alec Holland, who turned into the Swamp Thing and was just the Swamp Thing. So there are a lot of interesting and new things going on here. It feels very foreign, and it just leaves you with tons of questions. But, as I already said, it's a very slow burn story, so even at the end of this first issue, it's not entirely clear where it's going to go. Now, there is a lot of potential here. I'm very curious to see if they bring Alec Holland into it, if they bring in the Parliament of Trees, if they bring in a lot of the stuff that makes Swamp Thing what we know him to be, and how that will mesh with and conflict with this new setting. Is this new character Levi going to replace Alec Holland as the Swamp Thing? Is there going to be some sort of conflict over who is the avatar of the Green? Or is the story that Ram V is trying to tell going to be completely separate and not acknowledge a lot of that stuff? At this point, there really is no way of knowing. I'm going to try not to focus on all of that, as it could set me up for disappointment as I develop expectations based around my theorizing. But I can't help but think about it, as it's so ingrained in the character and the mythology and the lore that's already been developed before this. I can see a lot of potential here, particularly in the psychology of Levi as he wrestles with becoming the Swamp Thing when he isn't even entirely certain of what's going on, as well as how this can deepen the mystery of the Green, and how Levi as an unwitting avatar of the Green links in with Alec Holland and other Swamp Things of the past. As a single, just standalone issue, I would say this was just okay. It doesn't really stand on its own very well, and it very much feels like it is just the first part of a bigger story. Whereas a lot of single issues of comics can be entertaining and stand on their own in their own right, this feels more like a part of a larger whole. And like I said at the beginning, I feel like it'll read much better in collected format. But overall, it is interesting, it's very compelling, and I'm interested in seeing where the story goes from here. It just didn't do a lot to really wow me as a standalone issue. But if you read the issue, what did you think? Are you interested in the new developments? Do you have a lot of questions about how this is going to fit in with previous lore? Are you interested in seeing how someone new handles the mantle of Swamp Thing? Or would you just prefer to stick with Alec Holland? Let me know down in the comments. I'm really curious to hear what you think. If you could help me out by hitting like, I'd really appreciate it. Be sure to hit subscribe so you don't miss out on the rest of my comic book content. And I look forward to talking comic books with you more in the future. Until next time, this is Uncle Joel saying, stay tangible.